翻嚟繼續我哋今日第4節嘅聽證，出席嘅官員呢，有環境局局長黃錦星先生、環保署副署長陳偉基先生、環保署助理署長陳英龍博士，另一位助理署長歐偉光先生。咁就歡迎大家居民、學者、業界出席。就首先介紹呢個耳筒先，大家座位上面都有呢個耳筒。咁呢，就如果需要即時傳譯呢，就係0頻道就係現場收音，1頻道係廣東話，2頻道就係英文，咁大家可以就聽呢個耳筒做即時傳譯。Welcome to everybody, the residents and representatives from NGO and from the academics and the business sector. Welcome to this meeting to share with us your good experiences and the insight of the issue. Please note that there is an earpiece to every booth. You could take on the earpiece and then enjoy our simultaneous interpretation services. For Channel 0, it is floor sound. For the Cantonese, please tune to Channel 1. For Channel 2, please tune to English. And from now on, I will speak in Cantonese. 咁就大家發言時間呢，就只有3分鐘，呢個要抱歉嘅，因為都好多團體發言。咁就到3分鐘時間夠嘅時候呢，就會有聲音提醒大家就夠時間，咁就請各位就停止發言啦，因為大家延長咗你個人嘅發言時間呢，就等於後邊嗰啲團體或者代表嗰個發言時間係會受到影響㗎啦。咁亦都請大家知悉呢，各位嘅發言係不會受到立法會權力及特權條例嘅保障嘅。並且呢，我哋有一份在立法會綜合大樓會議室出席會議或在公眾席旁聽會議的公眾人士須知嘅函件，係話俾大家聽各項嘅保安措施，咁就已經夾附喺秘書處發俾各位嘅邀請函件之中，而大家而家嘅台面上面呢，亦都有一個副本。咁喺旁聽席嘅公眾人士呢，亦可以向在場嘅立法會保安人員索取有關資料嘅。咁我哋就馬上開始呢一節嘅聽證。第一位發言係長洲發展協會楊永恒先生，請。
主席好嘅，各位議員好。咁對於焚化爐事件呢，其實睇報紙咁又話啦，政府係諗住喺石鼓洲度興建一個暖水池作補償方案嘅。咁但係本會認為係唔可行嘅。咁因為由於外國嘅焚化爐咧係興建喺市區啦，咁樣當地嘅居民係好容易同埋好方便咁樣可以行到去個設施度使用嘅。但係正因為石鼓洲同長洲嘅來往只有渡輪，咁其實對居民嚟講係非常之不便㗎。咁又十分浪費時間啦，而且長者同埋學生咧上落去街道嘅時候都好危險嘅會，咁令到居民會減少佢嘅使用嘅意欲啦。咁與其喺石鼓洲度興建，其實本會建議倒不如喺長洲度興建嘅。咁可以喺長洲法師韋恩紀念中學隔離嗰個土地啦，去興建一座綜合嘅社區會堂嘅。咁因為嗰度嘅size 咧係個 area 係足夠係一個5人足球場同埋一個暖水游泳池嘅，咁又可以方便區內嘅學校使用啦，減少佢哋嘅來往時間，同埋增加就業嘅機會嘅。本會相信呢，喺長洲興建使用率咧係一定會比石鼓洲高嘅。而且本會認為政府係有責任先處理區內嘅更具建設性嘅渡輪問題。渡輪來往長洲嘅航班已經不足，衛生服務嘅水平不斷下降，救生設備又嚴重不足。本區區議員已經不斷去信運輸署同埋房屋局同埋其渡輪公司，但係政府卻一直不聞不問，採取鴕鳥政策，加深部分嘅長洲居民對遊客嘅不滿，造成社會嘅矛盾。地區嘅問題仍未解決，但係政府依然都要焚化爐方案強行上馬，係因為政府並唔重視居民嘅需要，導致居民表達強烈嘅不滿。本會認為喺本區興建設施後，應該俾一啲持續嘅優惠俾離島區嘅居民，以作補償，同埋津貼居民昂貴嘅船費。多謝主席。
好多謝。The next speaker comes from Dutch Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, Mr. Daniel de Blok van der Schoutinger, please.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, we're very pleased to be able to submit our views. As long-term residents of Hong Kong, we welcome the efforts by the government to launch campaigns to encourage behavioral change, such as the Food Wise campaign. And we would support further efforts to stimulate the Hong Kong community to reduce at source, reuse, cycle, and rethink. We should be committed to finding the most effective solution for dealing with our MSW in ways that limit and reduce environmental and human impact. This is something that I think everyone agrees with, and I've gone through most of the pieces. Recycling is a vital part of a sustainable waste solution because it has the potential to significantly reduce the quantity of waste. However, as we know, not all waste is recyclable. Waste-to-energy facilities, WTE, complement these recycling efforts by converting non-recyclable waste into energy. Recycling and WTE are complementary to achieve lower landfill rates. The term incineration, which is often erroneously applied to WTE and adds to the debate but confuses it, is an uncontrolled combustion process without energy recovery. Modern WTE facilities are in no way similar to incinerators of the past. Using MSW as the primary fuel source, WTE facilities recover electricity for the communities in which they operate. The facilities use state-of-the-art pollution and odor control equipment to scrub emissions, preventing them from releasing into our environment. Hong Kong has a large and troubling waste load, as we all know. Currently, Hong Kong's recycling rate of domestic use MSW is about 23%, and its landfill rate is 52%, compared to a recycling rate of almost 60% and landfill of 2% in the Netherlands. It's interesting to note that both the Netherlands and Hong Kong suffer from a lack of space, as well as a very vocal population. The Netherlands is happy to share its knowledge, experience, and results to the benefit of the citizens of Hong Kong. We respectfully recommend you to consider the following proposal. Small landfill extensions at SENT, NENT, and WNT, as the small extensions would solve the immediate mounting waste disposal issues. But at the same time, simultaneously, build WTE facilities at the same landfill sites, SENT, NENT, and WNT. The construction of WTE facilities at the above-mentioned three sites would, in our humble opinion, have the following benefits for the community. A, the existing landfills already have the infrastructure in place for transporting the waste. 3, implementation...
Thank you, Mr. Shouting. The time's up. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
郭敏儀女士，
主席、各位議員，處理香港嘅廢物問題已經到咗一個刻不容緩嘅時間。我哋而家目前全香港市民面對嘅困境係3個堆填區即將會陸續爆滿，而一旦爆滿，原來我哋係冇任何嘅後備方案可以處理香港市民每日製造接近17000噸嘅垃圾。我冇辦法唔去發問。香港作為一個國際金融中心，點解一直以嚟都冇嚴肅咁對待垃圾處理嘅問題？我哋確實好需要並且係一個全面嘅處理廢物方案，一個用減廢、回收、循環再用、焚化或者係堆填各方面、多方面同時咁樣去入手嘅處理辦法。既要令市民喺行為上面去改變棄置垃圾嘅習慣，亦都同時需要能夠處理大量垃圾嘅廢物設施，缺一不可。但係要知道改變市民嘅行為習慣並唔係一朝一夕可以做到嘅。遠嘅唔講，我哋睇下台灣，2011年台灣每人每日棄置家居垃圾嘅數目係0.4公斤。我哋講緊香港人係佢哋嘅3倍。台灣之所以有今日嘅成績，係超過10年嘅教育配合政策嘅推動，先至有得到呢個成績。唔好講話10幾年，恐怕香港連1年都冇。睇返政府嘅數字，我哋嘅堆填區出年開始會開始陸續爆滿。我想問一問，如果我哋冇 新嘅或者冇一啲擴建咗嘅廢物處理設施，我哋嘅垃圾掉喺邊呢？香港社會如果喺今日再唔去作出呢個決定，整個社會付出嘅代價只會越嚟越大，我哋嘅環境生活質素會下降，建造廢物處理設施嘅成本只會有升冇跌。社會上對於焚化技術存在好多唔明白同埋誤解，好遺憾香港社會用咗過去嘅10年去猶豫同埋去爭論，而其他嘅國家就去用實踐去累積經驗，並且紛紛以焚化取代咗堆填。我哋睇返我哋香港嘅四周圍，台灣現時嘅焚化設施有24座，中國138座，日本仲誇張1243座。焚化設施喺過去20年嘅發展已經相當成熟，並且可以轉廢為能，為社區提供廉價嘅電力。主席，我知道議員喺過去嘅時間已經去咗好多海外地方參觀，好希望你哋喺未來嘅投票能夠為香港做出一個明智選擇。
潘樂陶博士，
多謝主席。我非常同意剛才兩位發言人嘅所講嘅內容，好多嘢我想講呢，佢哋兩位已經講咗啦。我喺呢度提出一兩點俾主席同埋各位議員留意下。台灣係經過10年時間先係將佢哋人均嘅廢物由1.4公斤減到0.4公斤。南韓呢係亦都差唔多20年嘅時間，將佢廢物嘅0.8公斤一日減到0.4公斤一日，都需要教育同埋習慣嘅改變。呢個喺呢兩個社會都需要10年時間。我哋香港嘅政治文化係非常之係比較係反叛嘅。我哋香港人嘅特色，呢啲係我哋嘅特色。我哋嘅諮詢嘅期，我哋政府任何政策經過一個議會個好似蝸牛式咁嘅進度。我相信香港要由現在我哋1.6公斤減到0.4公斤啦，要需要超過10年嘅時間。呢個嘅情況之下呢，我哋係擴建嗰幾個堆填區係刻不容緩。與此同時，應該積極盡快係興建一個焚化爐，或 IWWF。就我記得舊年係5月27號，10個月前喺呢度係講同一樣嘢。現在差唔多經過300日，我哋每日有1萬噸嘅廢物，我哋已經過去由上一次我嚟至到今日呢，已經多咗300萬噸固體廢物。呢個300萬噸廢物可以將呢個整個立法會同埋呢個政府大樓填滿晒佢。香港事實上做嘢係太慢，我要支持政府盡快擴建呢3個 Nan、Sand 同埋 Wen 嘅堆填區，同時呢要積極加快速度嚟到興建呢個 IWMF Integrated Waste Management Facilities。多謝主席。
下一位係熊嘉倩女士，請。
Good afternoon. During man's brief existence on this earth, the beauty of the natural environment has inspired and continues to inspire creative people from all walks of life. Writers, artists, philosophers, musicians, even businessmen and politicians. Well, some. Here's the romantic English poet Keats. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. And Beethoven. How happy I am to wander among bushes and herbs, under trees and over rocks. Nature is a glorious school for the heart. Buddhist quotes abound, and here's Lao Tzu from the Taoist Bible, Tao Te Ching. Great indeed is the sublimity of nature, to which we owe our beginnings. And when people of the world all know beauty as beauty, there arises the recognition of ugliness. And here's Mao Zedong. Let 100 flowers bloom. Seriously, here's my point. Why is the EPD planning to build a gigantic incinerator in South Lantau, one of the few remaining beauty spots of Hong Kong, an area earmarked by the government, and I quote, for natural conservation and sustainable recreational uses? How many of you have walked along Changsha Beach, the longest stretch of white sand in Hong Kong? Our best, according to the Hong Kong Tourism Board website. I do not ask this as a rhetorical question, hands up, because if you have, I bet you won't be voting for a monstrous incinerator that will tower so high and spew so foul that the enjoyment of all outdoor activities for miles around, hiking, swimming, boating, biking, barbecuing, dancing, romancing, will be ruined forever. The Economist Intelligence Unit has recently declared Hong Kong as the most livable city in the world. Why? Quote, Hong Kong is a very compact city, but there is a dense network of green spaces. I wonder what the Economist Intelligence Unit would think of the EPD's plans for Shek Yu Chau. Ladies and gentlemen, I personally acknowledge the urgent need for incineration in this wasteful, overpopulated corner of China. But may I ask you to reconsider the location? Here's a definition of beauty: the perceptual experience of pleasure or satisfaction. Here's another, a feeling of balance and harmony with nature. As Hong Kong continues to get gobbled up by her motherland in every sense of the verb, how about we set an example to the PRC about one aspect of good governance, protection of the environment? Shek Yu Chau, it's a beautiful island overlooking probably the finest beach in the whole of China, surrounded by glorious mountains, fringed by the South China Sea. Preserve its ecology, protect our natural environment, its extraordinary beauty, for your own futility, creativity,
thank you for sharing
health
with
and
us
happiness.
The beautiful life by John Keats. 俊和建築工程有限公司吳志文先生。
多謝主席。俊和建築工程有限公司係支持環境局嘅三堆一爐環境基建項目嘅建議嘅。根據環境局香港廢物處理同埋處置嘅統計咧，香港每日咧大概咧就有1萬噸嘅固體垃圾。3個現有嘅堆填區係最遲咧就會喺2019或者喺之前咧就飽和。我哋相信擴建呢個堆填區同埋興建新嘅廢物處理設施咧已經係刻不容緩。政府而家嘅方案只係擴建現有嘅堆填區域，令到嗰3個堆填區咧能夠繼續為香港市民每日所產生嘅垃圾咧，提供有限度嘅堆填應用土地。從呢個長遠角度嚟睇咧，要妥善處理香港嘅固體垃圾咧，焚化爐係一個最佳嘅選擇。俊和建築工程有限公司喺香港從事基建都45年，過去同埋現在我哋亦都參加咗唔少嘅環境設施嘅項目，好似興建呢個生態廁所啊、化學廢料嘅處理站等等。你都知道咧，亦都有好多跨國公司咧係嚟咗香港，佢哋都引入咗好多係焚化爐嘅承建商，佢哋係掌握咗係國際上先進嘅技術嘅。我哋深信呢，我哋同行一定可以為香港引進符合國際水平嘅先進環保焚化技術，幫助香港處理垃圾嘅問題嘅。加上近年呢，建築成本亦都急劇上升，如果我哋繼續係猶豫不決，唔落實三堆一爐呢個處理廢物嘅方法咧，恐怕香港除咗要承受呢個垃圾圍城之外咧，亦都要支付龐大嘅建築費用。我哋公司喺過去做咗大大小小嘅基建啦、鐵路啦、樓宇啦、水務等等嘅建築工程，好多都係同民生同埋社區發展息息相關嘅。可以講係同香港一同成長。當日亦都有賴市民嘅理解、信任同埋包容，先可以順利完成多項重要嘅基礎建設。今日我哋亦都希望市民同埋各位議員能夠將呢份嘅信任延續落去，同心解決當前必須解決嘅問題，支持環境局三堆一爐嘅環境基建項目。唔該。
好，多謝你。跟住喺香港廢物管理學會李志良先生，請。
Good afternoon. Since our inception 20 years ago, the Hong Kong Waste Management Association has been witnessing the evolution, needs and challenges of waste management issues in Hong Kong. And there have been so many extensive rounds of opinion gatherings, expression of interest, public forums and consultations among our various stakeholders. Now, and waste to energy has been named one of the approach long ago. But learning from the operating experience from countries in Japan, Korea, Singapore, and a lot of European countries, we understand that effective waste management, it is essential to have a combination of waste to energy technology with continuing landfill capacity at downstream, together with specialized organics waste management. And of course, it should not need to be mentioned that the approach to resource recycling serves as the backbone of the sustainable society. We understand the general public is very skeptical about the health and safety issues of the WTE, as well as we preferred a zero landfill approach. But from the professional angle of a learned society, as well as proven operating experience from other countries, we are convinced that these concerns have already been well taken care of by technological advancement, and Hong Kong would generally have the capacity to ensure the highest operating standards for the facilities. And we cannot do without having the landfills being the part of the solutions with the waste to energy or any other thermal treatment technologies. With the proposed IWMF Phase 1 only targeting 3,000 tons of MFW every day, we still have an imminent need to extend our three existing landfills, which can be monitored and managed on a performance basis. The waste charging scheme recently proposed by the government can play a determined and effective role in encourage our citizens to reduce, reuse and recycle. Another point to stress is the extensive environmental education for the whole Hong Kong community. It's one of the most critical parts for the success of a sustainable environment. Okay? Compared with other world-class cities, Hong Kong is really lagging behind in implementing a basket of solutions to tackle the waste management issues holistically. Can we really wait any longer? Now, it is certainly the time to proceed with the 3+1 option, while implementing the other initiatives set out in the government blueprints in parallel. The Hong Kong Waste Management Association strongly supports the government's blueprint and anticipates helping Hong Kong to walk the talk. Thank you.
跟住呢係環保協進會鄭俊毅先生，請。
各位主席、議員、局長好。咁啱局長喺上一節提到啦，咁其實回收率咧，其實達到40-50% 已經好叻㗎啦。咁其實咧，佢無論去到幾多咧，都一定會有其他嘅廢物剩翻喺度，好似建築廢物咁樣。咁但係呢個係咪可以俾我哋一直作為無限擴建堆填區嘅藉口咧？咁啱提到局長都提到啦，咁其實其他國家咧，就算起咗好多焚化爐咧，都會留有堆填區去應用嘅。咁但係咧，我哋香港係咪可以做到同人哋一樣呢？咁其實我抱有一個好大嘅懷疑，因為香港地少人多係不爭嘅事實啦。咁我哋土地資源係比人哋少好多嘅。咁你一路去保持住呢啲考慮用堆填區嘅方法去補足其他設施嘅不足呢，咁其實唔係我哋香港一個可行嘅方法。咁其實堆填區喺未來嘅10年裏面呢，就會一路陸續飽和嘅我哋嘅堆填區。咁啲堆填區究竟係咪要擴建呢？咁其實去到而家呢，已經冇得俾我哋選擇㗎啦，可以話係。咁係要擴建嘅，我都覺得。咁因為你唔擴建呢，就垃圾圍城嘅。咁但係更加值得人哋留意嘅咧係，政府喺將來係咪真係有決心同埋有其他嘢可以做到，令到我哋將來唔係繼續依賴堆填區呢？咁而家政府主要做緊嘅就係話源頭減廢啦、嘅廚餘同埋回收啦。咁但係我哋而家睇到嘅話呢，回收行業做個例子啦。咁舊年6厘行動嘅時候，一啲塑膠呢，其實呢，人哋一停止咗回收嘅話呢，我哋香港就企實喺度㗎啦。所有塑膠係回收唔到，都係搬晒去堆填區。咁我哋香港喺回收業上面究竟有幾大決心，有幾多幫助？你而家實行到咩程度呢？其實一眼睇晒㗎啦。咁其他呢，你源頭減廢。咁頭先都有好多人提過啦，10年嘅時間係最短㗎啦。咁所以嘅話呢，我哋唔可以單單淨係靠呢啲方法去應變。咁若果係咁嘅話呢，堆填區起100萬個都唔夠嘅。咁所以去到最後呢，我希望政府其實係有其他嘅方法，或者睇下有冇其他嘅決心去做好啲，我其他嘅方法去改變現有嘅狀況，唔係永遠一路依賴堆填區落去。多謝主席。
多謝你鄭生。跟住係登綠長洲環境教育中心鄭明珠女士，請。
係主席、各位議員、局長好啦。咁其實咧，我哋喺我哋長洲嗰邊都有設置個中心嘅，好似頭先鄭生講咁樣。喺舊年6厘行動嘅時候，我哋 keep 住其實都有回收啲塑膠嘅。咁但係6厘行動一開始，我哋所有嘅塑膠都要停收，因為冇地方會再回收我啲膠，尤其是我喺離島嗰方面，運輸方面好沉重嘅負擔啦。加上我哋喺香港揾唔到任何配套幫到我哋，咁政府一直推行呢個源頭嘅減廢，咁但係喺回收事業上點去幫到一啲回收商啊，或者我哋啲環保團體呢？咁呢個都係大家去諗下點做咁樣嘅。咁除咗呢個之外咧，喺焚化爐方面啦，咁因為其實對於我哋嚟講係比較影響比較大嘅。我哋喺長洲，咁加上我自己本身都係長洲人啦，我唔係因為我長洲人而反對去起一個焚化爐，因為焚化爐係一個必須要起嘅一個不爭嘅事實嚟嘅。喺香港，我哋冇焚化爐，不斷擴建堆填區係唔可行㗎嘛。咁但係起焚化爐嘅時候，我哋會唔會淨係考慮起一個人少嘅地方咧，會唔會考慮翻喺運輸方面啦，喺一啲經濟成本啊、興建嘅年期啊，甚至係一啲我哋興建嘅費用方面去斟酌咧？喺石鼓洲去興建焚化爐嘅時候，係其實俾好多地方去更加嘥錢嘥時間。咁我哋喺擴建堆填區或者起焚化爐嘅時候，其實咁急嘅一個事實啦。咁我哋會點做？係咪要真係一勞永逸咧？咁呢個就希望翻環保署嘅嘅官員啦，去再去考慮一下咁樣。咁仲有就希望翻睇下可唔可以喺回收方面幫到一啲回收商或者環保團體，加強佢哋嘅配套，幫佢哋有更加好嘅出路咁樣。係，唔該。
好，下一位係青年民建聯杜楚琪先生，請。
主席、各位議會人士，大家下晝好。我哋青年民建聯一直都認為，香港而家3個堆填區咧趨近飽和，呢個係客觀嘅事實，不爭嘅事實，冇人可以否認。如果而家咩都唔做咧，頭先大家都好清楚咁講咗啦，垃圾圍城係必然嘅後果。我諗冇人可以面對呢個後果，亦都冇人可以去承擔嘅。事實上咧，香港一直都係缺乏呢個長遠而有規劃嘅廢物處理政策。冇錯，政府咧係應該係先大力推行回收嘅環保政策，呢個係大家都認同嘅。咁但係事實上，你無論點回收極，你都係要有固體廢物，即譬如建築廢料，即使你係焚化爐都有少少灰嘅。咁無論回收率點高都好咧，你都係要需要擴建堆填區。同埋而家比較迫切性，你焚化爐都起唔切，所以一定要做。長遠嚟講，焚化爐同埋堆填區一定要擴建。當然咧，擴建幾大係幾多係另外一回事。咁不過唔係話呢啲嘢一定要做，有道理就可以硬推。亦都政府亦都要顧及當區居民，譬如將軍澳啊、屯門啊嗰啲有呢啲厭惡性設施喺附近嘅居民嘅感受，其實咧可以政府係考慮作一啲對一啲補償俾當地嘅居民啊，譬如一啲津貼啊，冇喺各方面嘅津貼嗱咁啦嚇。我諗咧香港政府做嘅政策咧係必須要係理性嘅，亦都唔可以係盲目咁反對就可以咁做得到。咁如果咁樣對香港咧，只會有係長遠嘅好處。我諗無論係邊個係有啲係政客好，或者係當區嘅居民好，大家亦都係需要明白香港長遠嚟講係要有一個處理廢物嘅政策，而呢啲厭惡性設施一定要喺某一笪地方起，亦唔可以盲目反對。但係當然喺呢個過程入邊，政府係必須要考慮當區居民嘅意見咧。多謝各位。
係，下一位係文貴琪先生，請。
黃局長、主席、各位議員，大家好。我係土生土長嘅新界人，我係新田米埔村代表文貴琪。過去幾十年呢，政府不斷咧對擴建堆填區，破壞新界嘅原有嘅環境，唔單止咧係令人失望，同埋令我憤怒同埋好痛心。 米埔自然濕地保護區係國際公認嘅自然環境嘅地方嚟嘅，亦都係香港後花園重要嘅一環。政府口口聲聲帶頭話保護環境，但係呢啲垃圾呢已經抌落去堆填或者焚化爐，佢唔會好好諗下點樣去處理好呢啲垃圾。黃局長同埋主席，你哋都要明白，堆填區係唔單止破壞新界嘅環境，同埋嗰啲污水仲滲漏到去後海灣，影響到米埔自然保育區嘅。舊年嘅9月咧，曾經有報紙報導過有污水嘅滲漏，但係環保署即刻回應話冇嘅。報紙話有，政府話冇，你叫我信邊位先？同時咧，每年都超過10萬隻雀飛嚟香港米埔自然保護區過冬嘅，咁嘅污水，咁個環境，你話雀仔中唔中意？日後會唔會中意再飛嚟香港咧？同時咧，污水同埋堆填區係破壞嘅環境，仲影響米埔村個生育自然保護區嘅生育嘅環境嘅，所以咧，我係堅決反對政府擴建堆填區嘅方案嘅。同時，政府一直話自己堆填區技術點樣好點樣好，但係咧，我就聽到同埋近期咧，有好多出邊嘅團體曾經都自費去歐洲實地觀察視察外國嘅技術，例如等離子焚化器，佢哋仲係攞埋有實據嘅嘢攞翻嚟。
係，多謝文先生。下一位係文啟光先生，請。
各位好，我係嚟自元朗嘅居民嚟嘅。咁咧就我自己本身就好中意踩單車嘅。咁好多時咧經過元朗嘅青山公路咧嘅垃圾站咧，咁我留意到咧喺垃圾桶入邊咧就擺滿垃圾啦，當然。咁但係喺垃圾桶以外咧都係擺滿垃圾嘅。咁咧擺滿咗咩咧？譬如一啲一箱箱嘅玻璃樽啦，好多嘅舊車胎啦，大量嘅木材同埋一啲建築嘅廢料。咁咧就希望阿黃局長咧得個支持有啲咁嘅嘢嚇，同埋佢得閒研究點樣處理啦。咁咧點解？如果喺垃圾桶入邊嗰啲咧，我相信都係啲家居嘅廢物啊，譬如啲廚餘啊，同埋啲小型嘅垃圾啊。但係而家我想討論嘅咧就係嗰個喺垃圾桶以外嘅玻璃樽。咁咧根據環保署嘅數字咧，咁咧就每年棄置喺啲堆填區嘅入邊咧，就係有10萬噸嘅。咁換言之咧，就每日咧就有273噸嚇。咁如果成年計有幾多個度咧？就億幾個。咁試問下啦，如果你睇翻喺特區政府成立之後咧，就有3個呢啲處理啲垃圾嘅計劃嘅。1998年咧有個減少廢物綱要計劃，而第二個咧2005年咁或者係前環境運輸及工務局長嘅廖秀東博士嘅年代咧，咁咧有個都市固體廢物管理政策大綱，至到黃局長上任之後咧，舊年5月咧，2013年咧，至到2022年咧，有個叫香港資源循環藍圖。咁但係睇翻入邊嘅內容咧，其實佢咧都係離不開咧源頭減廢啊、重用啊，或者之後再要末端處理咧，都係要走去堆啊，或者咧都係要興建焚化爐嘅。咁我都要承認咧，垃圾係要處理嘅。但係好問題咧，我見到個垃圾站入邊嘅垃圾咧，其實咧就會送去堆填區嘅，呢個不容置疑㗎啦。咁入邊嗰個玻璃樽咧，其實睇翻台灣咧，咁佢就有個新竹市有個仁兄叫做吳春慈。 咁佢咧就可以回收到咧全個台灣70%嘅玻璃樽，係講緊幾多咧？係每日嘅20萬公斤嘅，咁啊一個好大量嘅。咁咧佢咧就會要嚟做自己用咧就500公斤，就要嚟做啲裝飾即係擺設嘅。咁其他嗰啲咧有剩嗰啲咧，佢就會俾翻其他回收商咧係重用啦，同埋再生嘅。咁咧反映到一點咧，點解人哋做到，我哋做唔到？同埋咧呢啲問題咧係10幾億個嚇，如果過去10年咧10幾億個係一個好大量嘅。多謝主席。多謝你。下一位係文忠慶先生，請。
多謝主席。各位議會者，我係新田繁田村嘅原居民村代表。咁咧我就係唔贊成嗰個3堆一爐支持新科技嘅。我哋民事中心會咧喺荷蘭同英國都有分會，所以喺舊年咧9月應當地民事中心會邀請去咗呢2個地方做啲交流。當垃圾問題喺香港鬧得熱烘嘅時候咧，我哋都知道歐洲喺垃圾處理技術方面咧都比香港先進，所以我哋都問佢哋對香港嘅意見同睇法。如果環境局同立法會議員喺今個月先至去咗考察，啱啱翻嚟，咁我哋已經比佢早半年研究咗歐洲點解喺焚化堆填方面比香港先進。而家我諗嘅係啲議員去咗歐洲睇人哋嘅點好，用焚化爐就好似將垃圾問題輕易解決，所以我哋就以為抄歐洲一套就可以成功，其實唔係咁容易。盲目跟風只會令香港步入真正嘅垃圾圍城嘅危機。首先講下焚化爐方面，歐洲嘅焚化爐效率唔錯，其主要是歐洲天氣比較乾燥，而且人哋嘅垃圾分類做得好，所以廚餘呢啲高濕度嘅垃圾好少會喺焚燒嘅垃圾出現。相反，香港嘅廚餘分類啱啱先叫做起步，但你哋就要用焚燒爐去燒水分接近90%嘅廚餘，無論喺效能及功率方面都及唔到歐洲。環境局好多時都讚瑞典呢個國家處理垃圾方面做得好，都係因為佢用咗焚燒爐。但係我想問下咁多位議員，各位都知道焚化爐燒完之後會製造灰燼，咁瑞典燒完啲灰燼去咗邊呢？結果就運翻出口垃圾嘅挪威。如果呢啲灰燼係有用嘅，咁點解瑞典唔用埋佢呢？要運翻去？瑞典既有毒嘅灰燼可以運翻挪威，咁香港燒完嘅灰可以攞去邊呢？喺歐洲已經開始應用一種叫做等離子技術，英國已經用緊，而且亦都唔會產生嘅毒廢氣。我哋亦都去參觀過，我真係唔明白政府點解唔考慮下，同埋一定要用焚化爐。多謝主席。
好多謝文生，下一位係長春社黃子敬先生，請。
唔該主席。推動零廢物棄置呢係眾多市民嘅理想啦，藉此建立香港成為一個宜居城市呢，亦都係長遠嘅目標。但係經過咗咁多屆政府20幾年嚟嘅耽誤呢，其實短期內恐怕難以成事。焚化堆填雖然唔係廢物管理嘅最佳方法，但係當下的確係解決燃眉之急嘅出路。雖然香港已經到達咗當機立斷嘅時候，但係長春社呢亦都唔願意見到政府呢恃住形勢呢過關，日後繼續馬虎減廢堆填了事。所以政府必須承諾以下嘅減廢政策同埋回收措施呢，本社呢先至唔會反對分階段擴展堆填區同埋興建焚化爐嘅方案。承諾呢分減廢回收同埋末端處理3個方面。首先喺減廢方面，第一，政府必須以按量計算嘅原則全面推行減廢物徵費，並盡快推行試驗計劃，最早於2015年，並不遲於2017年全面落實所有都市廢物按量徵費，並定期檢討收費水平。第二，政府必須嚴格遵守藍圖中為生產者責任制定下嘅時間表，尤其包裝物料等等，於2015至17年間進行立法工作，並就飲品玻璃樽生產者責任制計劃進行諮詢同埋立法工作，擴展到所有嘅包裝飲品。第三，政府應該馬上啟動建築物廢料收費計劃嘅檢討工作，提升收費水平，杜絕非法傾倒建築物廢料。 其次，回收方面，政府亦都應該將所有嘅廢物轉運站同埋垃圾收集站嘅部分位置變成社區綜合回收小區，令到回收更加方便。第二，除咗回收基金之外，政府應該訂立長遠同埋全面嘅回收行業支援配套計劃，並必須以本地產生嘅回收物為優先處理。第三，由環境局牽動推動並落實保障食物捐贈同埋回收相關嘅法例。最後，喺末端廢物處理方面，第一，政府喺選擇焚化爐技術上面應該以最佳可行嘅技術為原則，提供足夠同埋全面嘅資訊，列出每種技術嘅優劣，讓市民可以喺理性討論後作出選擇。而喺社區同埋生態補償方面嘅工作，越早做越好，亦都唔應該馬虎了事。第二，政府以轉廢為能作為推動焚化爐嘅口號，長春社認為焚化而產生嘅能源必須要能夠輸入電網，讓市民能夠使用先至可以叫做轉廢為能嘅目標。第三，喺2022年前落實禁止將資源運往末端處理嘅設施，每年檢討減廢同埋資源藍圖落實嘅成效，並且公佈檢討成果，按結果分階段擴展堆填區。若果成效不彰，以後堆填區嘅擴展計劃將唔能夠展開。第四，政府亦都應該改善運載記錄制度，透過利用線上實時嘅條碼制度，讓有關嘅部門能夠即日確認廢物已經達到。唔該晒。
多謝你，黃生。跟住係梁太，請。
好，唔該主席。各位議員、局長好。我係日出康城嘅居民，由開村住到而家都接近5年啦。一直困擾我哋最大嘅問題呢，就係呢個堆填區，直接影響我哋嘅身體健康。睇住身邊嘅居民一個一個咁搬走，有啲係因為小朋友搬咗嚟之後先有鼻敏感、支氣管炎、皮膚問題，直接影響身體健康；有啲係忍受唔到呢度嘅臭味，仲有啲係因為要長期去抗議示威，身心都疲累，去維護呢個家園。領都嘅居民都住咗3年啦，都開始忍受唔到呢啲咁嘅情況，又有計劃搬走。我今日嚟呢度，好希望局長聽下我哋嘅情況，希望可以做到零垃圾車嘅經過，話俾我哋聽幾時可以關閉呢個將軍澳嘅堆填區。多謝大家。
多謝你，梁太。跟住係新民主同盟劉永康先生。
係，多謝主席。新民主同盟呢係堅決反對新界東南堆填區嘅擴建，原因呢就係堆填區太近呢個民居。好似啱啱梁太講嘅情況呢，即係唔知局長幾時可以上去梁太屋企感受下呢？咁應該就好明白嗰個嘅滋擾。其實政府呢，就算已經話推行好多所謂嘅緩解措施呢，其實都係冇辦法解決呢個燃眉之急嘅。例如呢，要求喺垃圾車必須要密封啊，加翻啲尾蓋啊、污水缸呢啲呢。但係呢，當局預計要到15年嘅第一季呢啲改裝先至會全面完工。咁對於減輕居民現時所受嘅滋擾呢，係完全於事無補嘅。新民主同盟重申呢，繼續俾呢一個堆填區運作，其實係城市規劃上呢嚴重嘅錯誤嚟嘅。咁至於興建焚化爐呢，新民主同盟認為政府呢有一啲前設嘅問題呢係需要解決嘅，譬如焚化技術上面嘅選擇啦，評估翻對附近居民嘅健康影響，同埋作出一啲補償等等。此外呢，特首梁振英喺上任之前呢曾經就話過香港冇興建焚化爐嘅必要，並且上任之後擱置咗上屆政府提出嘅計劃。咁我哋強調呢，如果焚化爐計劃捲土重嚟嘅話呢，梁振英必須要解釋翻點解而家香港突然又有翻呢個興建焚化爐嘅必要，並且就當日嘅評估失誤呢係道歉，承擔翻呢個政治責任。不過呢，其實當局喺廢物處理方面呢，唔應該過分依賴呢個末端嘅處理技術。無論堆填區抑或係焚化爐呢，其實都無助減少都市嘅廢物量。長遠嚟講呢，政府係要考慮呢由行政架構上入手呢，理順翻同廢物處理有關嘅流程。比如呢，而家呢喺垃圾收集方面呢，就係食環署去負責，就係呢個食衞局嘅。但係回收再造呢，由環保署負責，屬於翻環境局。兩個局呢都未能夠互相協調，呢個情況呢已經早已為人詬病。咁我哋建議呢，當局成立翻一個跨部門嘅專責小組，甚至成立一個回收局呢，去統籌翻源頭減廢啊，扶持翻呢一個嘅回收業啊，發展再造業啊，研究末端處理等等嘅重大議題。 新民主同盟呢亦都建議將10億嘅回收基金呢撥作開發呢一個回收局，加強資助再造業，當中應該包含呢穩定翻一啲低回收價值嘅物料嗰啲嘅價格嘅功能，令到一啲回收廢玻璃啊、輪胎等等嘅價格呢唔會大幅波動，回收業界有利可圖咁先有得做。同時呢，局方亦都可以研究同一啲民間團體啊，甚至一啲拾荒者去合作啦，去確保翻回收垃圾供應鏈嘅最上層。其後呢，更應該大力發展呢一個嘅再造業，擴大回收業嘅出路，令到啲有價值資源呢可以留翻去香港循環再用，避免出現咗一個情況就係點呢？香港政府出錢，但係回收咗嘅資源呢就留咗去其他地方。新民主同盟嘅結論呢，就係政府有必要重新審視現時政出多門嘅漏洞，從行政架構上面着手呢，先至能夠係突破廢物處理政策上面出現嘅樽頸位。多謝主席。
下一位係綠回收黃楚明先生，請。
各位好。其實我都好奇怪一樣嘢，就係點解我哋成日講嘅垃圾，點解佢哋係垃圾呢？其實香港現時有嘅垃圾，只要你分開佢嘅話，基本上都係資源。我見過好多堆填區裏面嘅垃圾裏面呢，有80%係可以真係可以即時回收再用，去再做，你處理下就得㗎啦。咁仲有垃圾裏面有幾多垃圾係需要去堆完再填嘅？咁其實有好多垃圾係唔需要堆咗再填。其實堆埋一齊，你分開佢嘅時候，你擺得多啲嘅時候，根本佢就係資源，係一啲錢嚟嘅。每日我哋抌落堆填區嘅呢，最少超過500萬，即係呢個價值係超過500萬。單獨呢個係一個好粗略嘅估計落去。我頭先我想回應下剛才有人講6厘行動呢個問題。6厘行動令到我哋塑膠唔能夠進入去大陸嗰度，呢個係一個問題。但係點解香港唔能夠去回收再做呢樣嘢？其中一個原因就係你要做一間廠，起碼要過5關6將，開得嚟要2-3年時間先至可以去處理呢啲塑膠。6厘行動只不過短暫嘅問題，所以香港係處理唔到呢樣嘢。佢哋拱晒堆填區，但係如果堆填區之前有個位置堆放呢啲咁嘅塑膠，呢啲塑膠係可以有得處理，而且塑膠嘅處理係咁多種物料裏面最係呢個最污染力最低，損耗亦都係最低嘅。香港以前香港減廢條件同埋政策裏面好多係做得不足嘅，好似家居源頭減廢，點解唔再推前一個真正嘅源頭減廢？我哋好多嘅物品，佢用完之後，佢要攞去抌或者要攞去再用，其實係喺呢個源頭嘅時候，嗰個設計用料係好大關係。如果設計得好，用料係好嘅時候，呢啲用完之後唔係垃圾，都係資源嚟嘅，係用咗之後唔需要填埋，只要你係堆埋一堆，就係錢嚟㗎啦。好似一個膠袋咁，你一啲嘅膠袋，你100公斤嚟講，佢一個唔值得咩錢。但係如果你堆埋有超過100噸嘅時候，呢啲個錢嘅價值就相應提高咗好高好高。不過膠袋如果受到機械唔能夠處理嘅混雜呢，呢個價值會大幅咁降低。咁另一樣我想提一提就係話，而家嘅降解嘅膠袋，其實降解嘅膠袋呢係對社會危害係好嚴重嘅。我希望政府能夠喺呢方面有個嘅限制喺處。多謝，唔該。
好，下一位係陳月敏女士，請。
Good afternoon. I think the landfill extension projects and integrated waste treatment management facilities project are feasible. Start from year 2015, the 3 major operating landfill sites will be full one by one. To solve the problem by avoiding the landfill sites get full through reduced waste at source is proposed in society. However, it can only slow down the rate of saturation of landfill sites, but not answering the question that is, where should our future waste goes to? I think incinerators and integrated waste treatment management facilities can be a solution. As far as sustainability is concerned, these projects are promising. The technologies of incinerator are mature that the cost is lower than before. Environmentally speaking, advanced technologies used in designs and operations of incinerators greatly reduce the environmental impacts. Take Japan as an example. The filtering technologies allow pollutants to be released to air as H2O and CO2 particles that are not harmful to the environment. But I am skeptical of the proposed locations of these projects, as some of them are preserved area in our country park. I'm afraid it could become an example for developers to invade our preserved area. Also, food waste treatment is also an essential part in waste treatment in future. It is possible to be further utilized as power generation. I see no point in stopping our society's steps forward and adopt new technologies for these projects. Thank you.
多謝你。跟住係香港建造商會青年會梁建陽先生，請。
主席大會大家好，咁素來魚與熊掌就不可兼備啦。咁無論點樣去減廢回收，堆填區總會有爆滿嘅一日，所以本會係歡迎呢個三堆一爐嘅基建項目。其實事實例係勝於雄辯嘅。本會去年就曾經去參觀過呢個東京嘅焚化廠啦。咁其實我哋發現，除咗周圍嘅空氣質素其實都係幾好，咁同埋鄰近嘅居民都係接受呢個即係受惠於呢個廠房嘅廉價發電啦，而且日本居民嘅回收意識其實都好強，但係佢哋都係有呢個焚化廠嘅出現。咁反過嚟香港卻依舊原地踏步嘅話，更加係有機會陷入呢個垃圾圍城嘅危機。咁試問香港喺國際舞台上面嘅形象會變成點啊？而且從實際面嚟睇，三堆一爐呢個方案唔係淨係垃圾焚化，仲有綠化、發電、教育、製造一個建造業、環保業嘅工作機會，各方面其實都係相得益彰，所以並非係100%嘅洪水猛獸。由此可見，無論係堆填區抑或係焚化爐，都係社會係需要嘅。咁有人認為擴建呢個新界東南堆填區係會為鄰近居民係增添一啲嘅煩惱、臭味等等。但係若果新嘅堆填區淨係接受冇氣味嘅建築廢料，除咗減少臭味，亦都可以令一個堆填區嘅垃圾運輸車數目減半，大大減低空氣污染。而且未來嘅香港基建處新堆填區裏面嘅建築廢料可以有機會被重用，為人工島去造地，減低成本，一舉係三得。換個角度嚟睇，若果一個社區多一樣嘅義務設施，但係換嚟嘅係更加多嘅綠化康樂配套，亦都有環境局更加嚴謹嘅監控同埋保障。雖然魚與熊掌係不可兼備，但係塞翁失馬又焉知非福呢？若果要避免垃圾圍城，興建三堆一爐係有切實嘅需要，所以本會係對呢一項工程係投下贊成嘅一票。多謝大家。
下一位係沈嘉儀女士，請。
Thank you, Chairman. Tokyo, Seoul City, Taipei City all have less waste generation per capita when comparing to Hong Kong. Hong Kong should take simultaneous action to reduce the waste. Southeast New Territories landfill, Northeast New Territories landfill, and West New Territories landfill will all be full on or before 2019. It's impossible to have new landfill sites being built before 2019 to meet the demand of waste disposal. Landfill extension seems to be a quicker solution to this problem. Landfill handling technology, especially in the aspects of engineering, has been achieved to a high standard, and therefore with appropriate control and regulation like restricting the smelly construction waste to be disposed in landfill extension parts, which is nearer to the citizens, can help to strike a balance between the imagined need of waste disposal and social concerns. And of course, it's impossible for Hong Kong to rely much on landfill for handling waste in the long run, and the impossibility is shown by our current situation. Therefore, other means of waste management must be carried together with the extensions of landfills, like the integrated waste management facilities, which convert waste to energy, and these not only reduce waste for them, but also can sustain the way of waste disposal by utilizing them as energy. Other community actions like food waste must be promoted strongly, as the food waste disposal situation in Hong Kong is quite severe, and reductions on food waste is the best way to food waste treatment. However, I think education is also needed to teach the citizens on recycling. It seems that people don't know much about the materials that can be recycled, and this makes the effects of recycling not that obvious. More instruction should be given on the aspects of recycling. Thank you, Chairman.
多謝你。跟住係方希俊先生。
多謝主席。
地少人多，寸金尺土，從來都係香港俾人嘅印象。點樣分配珍貴嘅香港土地資源係成為一個值得深究嘅問題。而家香港3個主要嘅主要垃圾處理方法都係用堆填啦，而3個堆填區亦都係嚟緊嗰幾年佢將會爆滿，所以另一個處理垃圾嘅方法係有佢嘅必要性嘅。我就覺得3堆一爐呢個建造方法係十分之好嘅。首先就好似頭先講到啦，香港現存嘅堆填機就嚟飽，而興建一個焚化爐呢，就係能夠將垃圾係唔使送去呢個堆填區度作為堆填，而係能夠將垃圾焚化攞去將燃燒垃圾嗰陣嘅熱能轉化作為呢個能量。而根據之前環境局所做過嘅估計呢，轉廢為能係能夠每一年能夠產生4.8億度電，而呢個電量係足夠10萬戶嘅家庭係使用一年嘅。呢個方法轉廢為能呢樣嘢唔單止可以能夠發到電啦，同埋嗰個減少香港發電廠因為燃燒化石燃料嗰陣發電所排放溫室氣體嘅數量。再者，政府早喺2005年嗰陣就曾經提出過呢個家居源頭分類嘅垃圾分類計劃嘅。咁如果大家居民喺家居進行垃圾分類嗰陣，能夠係將垃圾已經係可燃不可燃嘅垃圾分開處理，而再配合埋呢個焚化爐同埋堆填嘅政策，3管齊下，咁就能夠係解決到一個長遠垃圾處理嘅問題嘅。同埋喺香港周邊嘅地區，就好似台灣、日本同埋新加坡，一早都應用咗焚化爐作為一個主要嘅垃圾嘅處理方法。佢哋分別都有過半嘅都市固體廢物係採用焚化嘅方法去處理嘅。而同時喺香港亦都係殖民地嘅時代，亦都曾經有過焚化爐嘅存在。至於點解當時我哋會係關閉啲焚化爐唔用，係因為當時有香港嘅人開始多，跟住居民開始關注到呢個空氣質素嘅問題。咁但係而家焚化爐嘅技術就已經成熟咗好多啦。咁而家嘅焚化爐，新式焚化爐係已經唔好似舊式嘅焚化爐咁喺燃燒垃圾嗰陣就排放大量嘅污染氣體。咁所以我覺得興建焚化爐係一個好值得大家去做嘅一個方案嚟嘅。多謝主席。
好 ，The next speaker comes from the Living Islands Movement, Mr. Mervyn Pearce, please.
Thank you for the opportunity. The 5 following questions were presented to all panel members prior to the meeting on the 24th of February. LIM have not received formal answers to these questions, so we strongly believe that these fundamental issues must be responded to. The Environmental Affairs panel members and ideally Hong Kong public should be given the answers. The issue is that the Bureau has admitted that their statistics for recycling are false and misleading, and that previous claims as much as 52% of Hong Kong's waste is recycled is shown to be incorrect. So how can EPD use the blueprint and this blueprint be trusted when it is based on such misleading and false statistics? Why has there been no public review or amendment of the blueprint based on this new recycling rate information? LIM estimates that the true recycling percentage could be less than 10%. So what are our options? Why is EPD ignoring the strong demand from the public that you see at the 3-colour bins to actually recycle more waste? Why have they not taken much greater efforts at all levels to produce the most basic waste management and resource recovery infrastructure? EPD's strategy for removing the problem of waste is based on sending unsorted waste to landfill. There is no immediate steps between collection and dumping or burning. If the IMF proposal is implemented, there will be no incentive for the public to recycle or recover any waste if it can all be dumped into an incinerator and burned. There is not a strategy of a responsible government. This is not a responsible government strategy. Why does the blueprint contain no credible plans for sorting of waste to avoid the need for it to go to landfill or incineration? How can a huge economic and environmental cost of integrated waste management facility be justified for such a small gain, which could be achieved at less social, environmental and financial costs through improving waste reduction and recycling? Moving grade incineration only achieves a 70% reduction in the amount of waste that is burned, and the process converts some of the waste into poisonous gases that have to be handled very carefully, and we are concerned about that process of handling them. Why does the Bureau continue to resist other rapidly emerging technologies in the face of growing evidence that these technologies are gaining acceptance around the world and operated at a regional scale? They are more than sufficient to handle the waste that would be left over after sorting facilities were implemented. So what are the next phases planned by the Environment Bureau, and when will the details be made public? As this phase 1 only deals poorly with basically 1/3 of the current municipal solid waste volume. So when will we know the whole picture, and why would we be making a decision at this stage without knowing the full cost implications, both environmental, social and financial? Thank you.
多謝你。The next speaker is Mr. Ian Brownlee from the Integrated Waste Management Action Group, please.
Thank you. Our written submission is paper 24. The group is concerned that the administration's proposal is inadequate, will be too little too late, and relies on a big incinerator, which is not a solution to the waste problems. The administration's plan, call it Plan A, will not work. Therefore, Plan B, based on large capacity waste sorting facilities, is proposed and is explained in the submission. The group cannot understand why there is no industrial-scale sorting and recycling in the blueprint. This is used extensively elsewhere in the world. A holistic approach is necessary. Industrial-scale sorting machines can handle up to 700 tonnes per day of MSW and reduce it by 80%. 5 of these machines will handle the same amount of waste as a proposed incinerator. It is simple technology and has no significant environmental concerns. The waste is delivered to one end and a series of conveyor belts moves it through the sorting stations, which mechanically or manually remove recyclable materials and creates jobs directly and in the recycling industry. There's no guarantee that the government's proposals for waste sorting at source will work. Under Plan B, waste must be mechanically sorted before it is dumped into the landfill. The 2 landfill sites at Nent and Went are large enough to include these sorting machines, recycling facilities and composting plants. Government does not have sites for their proposals in the blueprint, but they have huge landfill sites of 150 to 200 hectares, which they are not using efficiently. These must be used for a full range of integrated waste management activities other than just dumps for rubbish. The poor use of landfill sites results in the unnecessary need to expand them. Waste sorting and recycling plants could be operating on these sites within 3 years, and they don't require reclamation, and that is much quicker than the incinerator. 5 waste sorting lines would cost between $2 to $4 billion and reduce waste as much as the incinerator, but much cheaper. Implementation of sorting will reduce the need to expand the landfills, and maybe there's no need to expand them at all. The full Plan B of 9 sorting machines would leave about 1,200 tonnes per day of material to be landfilled or heat treated in 2 small incinerators or gasification plants, one at Went and one at Nent. The big incinerator at Sekruchao is not needed. Waste sorting and recycling needs to be done on an industrial scale to deal with the large amount of waste generated. It is technologically easy, cheap, and sustainable use of resource, and it does create jobs. The administration's proposal is outdated and should not be supported. In paragraph 9.1 of the paper, a strategic study is proposed by the administration. We suggest that you can't commit to the incinerator until the strategic study has been completed. Thank you.
Thank you. 下一位係香港物業管理公司協會楊文佳先生，請。
好多謝主席。就政府對呢個綜合廢物處理設施所作出嘅建議呢，我哋協會原則上係支持有關嘅方案嘅。同時呢，我哋協會呢提出以下建議，希望呢喺推行新方案嘅同時呢，盡量減低對市民嘅影響。第一點呢，就新界東南堆填區所作出呢，只係接收建築廢料呢個建議呢，相信係對將軍澳區嘅居民嚟講呢，比現時係有實質嘅改善嘅，特別喺氣味同環境衛生方面呢，相信可以減少嚇。但係政府呢應該要確實去推行有效嘅監察呢，令到各項改善措施可以落實，加強市民嘅信心啦。第二點呢，政府最重要仍需要加大力度呢，推行源頭回收。廚回收同埋特別係要推動同埋擴大呢個回收再造物料將來嘅應用，盡量響源頭減少廢物。政府亦都應該加強對市民呢嘅教育同埋信息啦。無論其實回收工作點樣有效都好呢，有啲廢物始終係冇辦法回收嘅，所以堆填或者焚化設施有一定程度嘅必須性。第三點呢，當推行廢物分流去到其他堆填區或者轉運站嘅時候呢，應該要確保對運輸成本唔好構成無形嘅壓力，以免呢將呢個費用呢轉嫁咗去市民嘅管理費上邊。 第4點呢，改善垃圾車嘅設計方面呢，對道路同埋屋苑嘅環境衛生方面應該係有幫助嘅，所以應該盡快咧全面推行嘅。但係亦都應該要咧政府提供足夠嘅資助咧，俾私人嘅運輸公司，以免咧有關嘅改裝成本啊轉嫁到市民嘅管理費上邊。第5點呢，當安排呢個廢物轉運嘅時候呢，每車嘅車程同埋輪候下卸嘅時間呢，一定會比而家呢較為長所以應該呢要妥善控制車輛前往各個堆填區或者轉運站呢個分流嘅措施。最重要呢，要同時增加食環署嘅車隊嘅數目，確保每日分派去到唔同大廈同埋屋苑清理垃圾嘅時間啊，同埋嗰個頻次呢都唔會受到影響。最後一點呢，就係個方案呢最積極有效嘅處理廢物建議就係興建焚化爐但係睇到數字呢，仍然都係每日只能夠處理到3000公噸嘅廢物，低過每日廢物生產量嘅1/4所以呢，我哋協會建議長遠嚟計呢，可能仲係需要擴充呢個焚化設施，減低對堆填區嗰個壓力。焚化設施呢，響市民嘅感覺呢係會帶嚟污染，特別係焚化過程裏邊產生嘅廢氣所以政府應該採用呢環保標準最高嘅設計呢最重要就強化將嚟嘅運作嗰個管理確保呢釋除市民嘅疑慮呢特別係對石鼓洲居民、鄰近居民島嶼嘅嗰啲居民嘅影響多謝主席。
好，多謝你。The last speaker represents the Swedish Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong. Mr. Ulf Orling, please.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak. Our chamber has been very active over the years in various environmental issues relating to Hong Kong. We support the government's waste reduction targets. As regards landfills, we see them as a way of just buying time. They are a nuisance and there is a shortage of land. When given this opportunity to comment on the proposals, we made some research what is happening in Sweden. And the numbers, they really surprised me. I'm not an environmental expert myself, but I know that has been waste management work going on for decades in Sweden. And as of now, only 1% of the total waste goes to landfills. 1% of the waste goes to landfills. 49% is recycled, and 49% approximately is incinerated. The incineration produces electricity and also hot water for heating our houses in the cold winters. And the emission levels from incineration, given the new technique available today, is very, very low. Actually, it has been more and more effective. We get more power, more heat from same amount of waste now with lower emissions. And as regards, someone mentioned that the ashes are transported to Norway. I don't know very much about that, but Norway is a developed country, well, at least fairly developed country. It's our neighbor, and they would not accept ashes unless they have a very good use for it. And the resistance in Hong Kong against incineration is a bit strange to me, since incineration is ongoing in almost every street corner in red buckets almost every day, creating probably at least as much emission as the incineration plants in Sweden. When it comes to new technique, we urge Hong Kong to be a bit careful when applying this policy, saying that for infrastructure projects you will only buy proven technology, and by proven it means it has been in use for more than 10 years. I think that means the technology that can be bought would be then at least 20 years old. And in the field of incineration, there has been so much development going on recently. So I think Hong Kong should reconsider that policy, or at least use it very carefully. No airliner would hesitate to buy the latest type of airplane because it's more efficient.
Thank you, Mr. Orling. 我哋呢個會呢就去到5點10分嘅，咁同前嗰幾節一樣，我邀請局長作一個簡短嘅回應，然後邀請在座嘅議員提問嚇。局長。
今日多謝各位朋友咧嚟到表達意見嘅。我想作幾個主要嘅回應啦。 第一就係政府其實咧係多管齊下嘅，即係話源頭減廢、應對廚餘、支持回收業以至大家朋友講，即係話就算頭先3樣嘢做得到某個程度，我哋都要係有一啲嘅善用科技，或者有啲地方咧係處理一啲建築廢料或者係一啲嘅其他嘅垃圾，所以變咗咧，我哋叫做5管齊下咧，呢樣嘢係需要嘅，係都係我哋嘅有決心去做。所以呢個今次今日集中係講所謂3+1啦，3堆一爐咧，其實今日聽到好多嘅意見咧，都睇到反映到咧主流民意咧係支持呢方面嘅，亦都係理解呢方面咧係有個急切嘅需要。但係呢個當然係一個過渡嘅安排，因為大家都感覺到過去有一啲嘅問題可能係積累咗，所以變咗咧喺長遠嚟講咧，我哋點樣再減少呢個堆填嘅一個咁樣嘅過分依賴咧，係我哋政策嘅方向嚟嘅。另外第2點想講講長洲嗰度，多謝長洲嘅朋友，部分長洲嘅居民呢都理解石鼓洲焚化爐呢個轉廢為能設施嘅需要。喺外地嘅經驗嚟講呢，好多時都會係趁住呢啲嘅基建嘅機遇呢，做一啲嘅硬件上嘅社區設施上嘅一個回歸。所以我諗長洲朋友講到唔同嘅一個訴求啦。我諗我哋政府呢係特別係嗰啲硬件上呢，我哋希望係能夠正面回應嘅。不過咧，我諗詳細嘅呢啲咁樣嘅細節咧，我哋其實有個機制嘅，就係好似外地咁樣，都有啲嘅地區聯絡小組。當譬如嗰個區有啲設施嘅時候咧，可以同嗰個區嘅人咧或者代表咧一齊傾點樣規劃好啦，點樣去管理好啦。包括咗係第時嗰個健康嘅保證設計時候有咩設施係最好咁樣。咁到前咧，我講過少少，譬如話係講一啲暖水泳池，其實呢個都係拋磚引玉，因為外國嘅例子未必啱香港，咁我明白嘅。所以具體嘅一啲嘅設施細節咧，係會到時咧同透過一個小組咧係會一齊去傾嘅。第3方面咧，就大家都關心一啲嘅生產者責任計劃啦。譬如有朋友講到玻璃樽呢樣嘢，其實大家有留意嘅話咧，我哋一屆政府今年內咧係喺呢方面咧係相當之積極嘅。啱啱上個禮拜咧，呢個禮拜已經過咗，我哋將呢個膠袋稅呢個我哋叫 PRS 咧擴展從呢個超市零售店呢啲咁嘅連鎖店咧，係擴展至全港嘅零售層面嘅，係會下年4月1號失效。所以變咗呢個第一個，我哋係擴展咗呢個 PRS。第2個咧就係廢電器電子產品呢個所謂4電一腦，我哋都會咧今年咧會係即係進行呢個立法工作。跟住咧就係話玻璃樽呢個生產者責任計劃咧，我哋都係早年完成個諮詢之後咧，我哋今年都會逐步開展呢個立法咧，令到大部分香港所生產嘅呢啲咁嘅飲品玻璃樽咧，都會大量回收同埋本地再用嘅，所以變咗大家睇到咧，呢方面我哋決心。第3方面想講講就係個科技方面啦。咁有啲立法會議員咧都早前同我哋一齊去咗歐洲去睇翻所謂唔同嘅科技都去咗荷蘭。咁大家明白咧，有啲人覺得咧就似乎啲新科技係唔係會更加健康、更加乜嘢咧咁樣？咁其實我哋去睇完之後咧，發覺咧其實同我哋今日朋友聽到嘅意見咧唔係咁相符嘅。我哋問翻英國政府其實佢哋覺得香港如果係起第一個焚化爐嘅話，應該點樣思考咧咁樣？嗱，佢哋覺得歐盟而家過去10年啱啱提升咗嘅一個咁樣嘅類似設施嘅標準咧，其實係即係已經係好好嘅。所以變咗我哋而家建議一個咧，都係跟到歐盟嘅標準作為一個基線。我對當時第時會再招標嘅時候咧，都會係以佢為一個超越佢為一個目標嘅。所以變咗嚟講咧，要係達到個健康標準，同時間咧係一個成熟科技。咁其實英國政府啲專家咧都覺得我哋而家政府嘅建議咧係合情合理嘅。仲有一點想講啦，咁我哋都係關顧堆填區附近居民嗰個感受嘅。我哋明白咧，一方面有整體社會嘅需要，但係都係即係點樣能夠係減少呢啲對唔同地區嘅影響。有朋友講到點樣能夠係加強地區嘅聯絡同溝通，共同監察咧咁樣。我哋都會喺唔同嘅堆填區附近咧，都會係將會成立一個地區聯絡小組，共同咧係即係了解居民嘅需要，點樣喺嗰個運作上能夠係減少呢個環境影響，共同監察咧滿足到社會嘅需要，同時間咧係關顧地區嘅需求嘅。多謝主席。
係在座嘅議員有冇提問？係陳家樂議員，5分鐘。
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon and really appreciate your time and your ideas about waste management for Hong Kong. I would like to give my time to our visitors from Holland, from Sweden, and maybe from the UK as well. Now, you just heard what the Secretary for Environment said a while ago about the relevance or applicability of EU technologies or EU policy to Hong Kong. Now, he appears to be suggesting that the EU experience, while very good, excellent, and so on and so forth, doesn't seem to really work for Hong Kong. But having read through very carefully the views provided by the Dutch Chamber of Commerce and also the Swedish Chamber of Commerce, as well as Mr. Ian Brownlee, I'm just wondering what would be your responses to the Secretary's remarks about the relevance of EU technologies and experience to Hong Kong's situation. Thank you.
Well, so I start from the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, and each representative could have 1 minute's time. I apologize for the constraint, but we have to. Mr. Schoutinger, please.
Thank you. I'll try to remain within time this time. On behalf of the Dutch Chamber, I think we would all be thrilled as residents of Hong Kong to hear that the government proposes to introduce the high EU norms and even supersede them. I mean, such aims can only be encouraged. Please do remember that it took the EU quite some time to achieve these aims. So I'm not sure how realistic it is to arrive at that stage in the short term, although you obviously have the advantage of being able to benefit from the experience and the latest technology.
Mr. Olling from the Swedish Chamber of Commerce, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to refer to our written submission. I don't have very much to add to my Dutch colleague here, and I fully concur with what has been stated from the Dutch Chamber. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ian Brownlee.
The question really is, how can we reduce the amount of waste going to landfills or to incineration? That should be the objective. And the mechanical sorting that is used all throughout the world is not even part of the program, and we cannot understand why. The only answer between now and the time the landfills are full in 2017 is not to expand the landfills. It's to be more efficient in the way we sort the MSW before it gets to be dumped in the landfill. And we could be building these large capacity machines. We don't need to rely on the community and the NGOs to do the sorting and the recycling. Everywhere in the world, it's a big business. Big companies invest a lot of money to make it efficient. And that's what we should be doing now. That should be done before you make a decision on the incinerator. There may be, as has been suggested, there may be a need for minor expansions of the landfills, but they should not be part of the solution. They are an absolute necessity because there's no option. But the landfill sorting and on-site, using the landfill sites for more purposes, as the Dutch have said, it's not just a place for dumping rubbish. And then we can come back and say, okay, do we really need these incinerators? And then they become very small because the stuff to be burnt is reduced to very, very small amounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all. I mean, what's impressive about your submissions is that you suggest to build the waste-to-energy facilities, coming from the Dutch submission, at the existing sites, Sands, Nans, and Wendt, right? Likewise, the Swedish representative here argued against the construction of, this gigantic incinerator on Shek Kwu Chau and try to sort of build it somewhere else. And Ian Brownlee is suggesting that we should make a better use of the existing landfills for better arrangement, proposing a plan B. So I believe that, Chairman, with your guidance, perhaps we would later on try to organize these relatively creative, innovative ideas into our ongoing discussions, because at the moment we don't seem to have any alternative. People have been commenting, that's the only thing that the government proposes, take it or leave it, but then there are some new ideas or alternative ideas coming from our European friends, and I do believe that we're in a position to check them out. Thank you.
I would recommend our guests coming to the meeting today contact the member of these panels and better inform them on your creative ideas so that they could further it in our next meeting on the 28th of March. 咁就我都有啲意見要同局長講嘅。其實呢，大家都睇到嗰個廢物處理問題呢，就已經係拖延咗好耐，即係香港係遠遠落後。咁過去嘅冇得追翻啦，即係而家鬧邊個呢都係冇用㗎啦。即係大家唯有呢就係喺呢一刻就係盡快趕快去做。咁但係呢，確實係有信心問題。咁就居民呢同埋環保團體都係希望政府可以將呢個減廢同埋分類回收嘅計劃呢係再加詳細啲去講出嚟，等大家安心。大家其實係好擔心呢，即係萬一立法會係通過咗呢個堆填區擴建啊，同埋呢個焚燒之後呢，當局就會喺呢個回收重造嗰度放軟手腳，咁結果呢，就即係呢啲唔係最好嘅廢物管理方法呢，就係會繼續落去。咁另外呢，就係喺呢啲廢物管理嘅設施嘅周邊呢，局長就話會有一個關注小組。我覺得呢個係唔夠嘅，應該係升格成為一個即係地區性嘅管理監督嘅委員會，並且呢係應該邀請當地嘅居民參與，就唔係淨係你跨部門有個小組呢，然後久不久就去揾個別居民開會。咁呢個即係應該有一個正正式式嘅監督委員會。咁就尤其是即係而家反對你嘅居民個意見呢，你更加要邀請埋佢入去一齊與民共議啊！咁就即係等大家係可以放心一啲啦嚇。跟住係方剛議員。
唔該，主席。主席，我知道呢個廢料問題咧，呢啲咁嘅係一個好大嘅問題。好似你講得啱，以前嘅政府係冇做任何嘢，咁我哋而家應該係急起直追嘅。咁啊，局長，我希望你有幾樣嘢分開啦。即係第一，首先係大家都講話教育方面，即係軟方面嘅嘢，你即刻要做啦。回收啊、分類啊呢啲咁嘅嘢咧，我認為你真係要做嘅。咁你喺短期方面，你都有提到啲收垃圾嗰啲垃圾車有個蓋做起佢。咁但係呢啲咁嘅時間同埋新嘅垃圾車係幾時可以實施到咧？即係呢個時間係要幾耐？呢啲短期嘅嘢。咁仲有一樣我想問咧，就係廚餘咧就佔咗我哋其實40%我哋呢啲廢物嘅。咁但係佢雖然係40%，但係佢個騷擾同埋擾民嘅程度係非常之高嘅，因為佢有啲臭味出嚟嘅。咁有冇諗下廚餘方面你可以幾時可以做？同埋有廚餘咧有好多種做法嘅，有啲愛嚟做完咗係做肥田料啊，或者其他啲用啊，或者種嗰啲油啊啲咁嘢。但最終有一樣嘢，佢哋啲廚餘係可以做成係能源嘅。咁雖然呢個可能投資咧係比較貴，但我認為呢一個咧係最有用嘅。即係就算你將來個廚餘增加咗咧，我哋可以化成係嗰啲能量咧 energy 嘅話咧。咁佢就係即係多我哋都可以受得到嘅。咁長遠咧，當然我就認為焚化爐咧，我認為係一定要起嘅，因為焚化爐係可以使到垃圾係可以減輕咗成90%嗰個體積嘅。咁而家你最擔心就係個焚化爐之後，佢放出嚟嗰啲係滲出嚟啲係啲有冇毒氣咧？咁我知道而家個科技係好先進嘅，咁局長，我知道你又去咗英國啦，咁可唔可以盡快喺你嗰度咧就諗住係我哋採用邊一種方法，咁可以唔好嘥時間，即刻去做。即係我希望咧，即係短、中、長嘅3樣嘢咧，即係分類教育啊呢啲咁咧，垃圾車冚蓋啊呢啲你即刻要做。咁跟住嗰個廚餘方面咧，可唔攞多啲資料，同埋咧焚化爐方面咧，你諗住即刻可以，如果要行去幾時行咧咁？唔該，主席。
局長都係餘下5分鐘餘下時間。
議員教育方面咧，我哋其實係做緊嘅。我哋啱啱推薦一個全港中小學嘅一個食物減廢助我手嘅運動，亦都有個叫米山嘢嘅一個手機嘅流動程式咧，係幫助佢哋了解呢方面。垃圾車方面咧，我哋係已經係 出咗個資助嘅計劃，亦都係會立法咁樣，所以雙管齊下呢係一路去進展嘅。廚餘嗰度呢，我哋出咗個藍圖，就而家到2022呢係加大，即係將廚餘變做能源呢個方向，所以嗰個細節呢，我諗遲啲可以再傾。科技方面呢，頭先其實都有朋友提到，其實我哋早年呢已經喺傾石鼓洲上呢，已經做一個全面嘅全世界呢方面嘅研究，亦都上過環境諮詢委員會，香港專家亦都審視過。咁我哋歐洲呢，只係一個可以話係一個再確定，睇下有冇啲新嘅一個咁嘅做法。所以今次睇完之後咧，都發覺咧，其實早前決定咧，其實都係相當之正確同埋一個穩妥嘅做法嚟嘅。所以變咗我哋而家就希望就問立法會攞錢啦，希望盡快能夠招標希望咧喺8年間可以落成呢方面嘅。多謝主席。
局長你講嚟講去，你都要盡快喎，招標咩？即係譬如如果俾你一個你嘅志願、你嘅願望啊，希望係可以幾快咧？如果你最願望係俾個時間表，譬如好似垃圾車，你話我哋都攞咗錢啦，我哋會繼續做啦咁，你都冇講。譬如話6個月之後，我啲垃圾車全部係新嘅，有冚嘅，咁希望市民得個支持啊嘛。
佢條法例18個月先生效，我記得好似定1年啊，陳博士。
係，多謝主席，多謝方議員嘅提問。其實垃圾車嗰度呢，其實我哋已經係正式係邀請咗嗰啲私人垃圾車嘅業主嚟申請㗎啦。咁我哋亦都係不停咁樣提佢哋發出嚟，因為我哋希望就係9月嗰時呢，就係我哋收晒啲申請。咁我哋預期因為即係安裝垃圾車嘅車房呢，唔係太多，咁我哋盡可能揾多啲車房去做啦。咁希望喺2014-15年度呢，就完全安晒呢300幾部私人垃圾車㗎啦嚇。咁我哋如果係快過2014-15更加好啦，所以我哋盡力咁做。多謝主席。
好，我就多謝各位出席今日呢一節嘅聽證會。咁就大家如果繼續有意見呢，係可以交俾我哋議員，因為我哋3月28號呢仲有一個會，就到時就會再進一步討論呢個3堆1燒嘅。多謝各位。咁請委員記得5點20分返嚟。多謝。